you again for joining us. As I mentioned, we're going to record this session. I hope that's okay with everybody. Please hold your questions until the end. My hope is that I will answer a lot of your questions as we go through this session. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Tara Grant, and I'm the Assistant Director of Morning and Evening MBA program at Rotman and Recruitment and Admissions. My counterpart, Angela Forster, who I'm sure you've met as well. We are peers, and we are here to help you in your journey pursuing your MBA. So I have many, many years of work experience in different sectors, and I am continuously drawn back to roles like this one in academia for a number of different reasons, because I really like helping people like yourself find the right program that best serves your academic goals, and ideally here at Rotman. I am confident that you are doing your research and know that Rotman is not your only program to consider. So my job and Angela's is to equip you and provide you with everything you need to know about the benefits of a Rotman MBA and what it's like as a learning experience here at Rotman. It's important to us that you're able to assess all the programs that are available to you to make the most informed decision for you. So today, this evening, we're going to go through the topics that we'll go through. So why the morning and evening MBA, why at Rotman, admissions criteria, tuitions, fees, and financial aid, our deadline, the application process, and any next steps. Okay, so if you have a paper and a pen and you're taking notes, you can know that we'll cover those topics and some more as well. So what is the morning and evening MBA? We have one annual intake, and that's in August. It is the morning or evening. So some of you might think, oh, I can toggle between some morning classes and some evening classes, and you need to distinguish which program you are pursuing when you're applying. So the morning program, they are morning and evening are both on Tuesdays and Thursdays. 2 days a week. Starting in the mornings, it's either 7 a.m. until 9, or in the evenings, it's 6:30 until 8:30 p.m. Okay, so I just have some notes. I don't want to miss anything. We have one annual intake, and that's in August. In August, there's also a 1-week intensive. So what I'm learning from some of the panels that we've been having throughout this Make It Happen event is that you should think about taking that week off work, because there's no way you're going to be able to do some work during that intensive. So from Monday to Friday, you would have classes from 9 until 5 for the intensives. Otherwise, that's what your program looks like that. We consider ourselves sort of the sister program to the full-time program, and maybe the cousin of the executive MBA. So there are different MBA formats available to you at Rotman. We are specifically talking about this one. There are different admissions criteria for all of the MBA programs, and plus we have a whole suite of specialized MBA programs. So some people might wonder, which program is right for them. We'd be happy to help walk you through that. The morning and evening MBA is designed for working professionals and it's structured for those who are already progressing through their career and are looking for some transition or some evolution in their roles or making changes. So you can really do whatever, you want there. The other piece about the morning and evening MBA that differs from some of the other programs is the structure, and that's the timing. So it's the 2 days a week, and then over the course of either 28 to 36 months. Okay. So let's chat a little bit about the cohort of the program. The other thing I should mention is that it is a hybrid program. So often one of your courses in the first year will be online and the other one will be in person. And it's been in this format even before COVID hit. So think about that too when you are considering which cohort you would like to join. Each of the cohorts is about 60 to 70 students, which might seem like a lot. But don't worry about that, because it's not. And it allows you, and you are with that cohort throughout the whole first year. And we'll walk a little bit through the design of the program and how it's structured. But in each of those cohorts, you will be doing tons and tons of group work and teamwork, and you'll have other opportunities to work with one another. So some courses, some programs offer, this sort of flexibility from the beginning to the end, and that and sometimes can sound really, really interesting. But what might happen is you really enjoy a course with somebody and you meet Angela, and then you never see her again for the duration of your program. So this allows you to build a really, really strong network of your within your cohort, and then delve even further with them within your groups. The other piece that's so critical to this program is the networking opportunity. So you're going to work really, really hard with your cohort in the first year, learning all about all of them and building them just like that by 60 to 70 people. The Rotman experience is also a very immersive experience. And by that, I mean, you'll have opportunities that we'll talk about clubs and case studies and electives, where each year you will continue to build on the network that you are growing and evolving. So you are a cohort. You are, if you are applying for this August program, you will be applying to be the class of 2025. And so you will be in a cohort of up to 140 people. And then by the end of your tenure at Rotman, you will have met at least 600 people in your network. So keep that in mind for all of the different benefits of what a network can bring you. The piece that I find one of the key pieces to our program, in my opinion, is the immediate application of your learning. So because you're attending in the morning and you're working full-time, or you're attending in the evening, you get to really test your learning, and you get to put it into practice right away. So often what will happen is you will be studying a case. You'll be talking about your own experiences. You'll come up with a strategy or solution. You'll go back to work. You'll put it in place. You'll have some learning, either positive or some, like, you'll have to make some tweaks or pivot, if you will. Then you can come back and talk about your experience in the class directly with your faculty. So it's like this evolving learning experience in real time, using examples and using the knowledge and the thought leadership of your faculty member. So let's move on to program format. So as I mentioned, in the first year and a half, we line up all of your mandatory courses for you, the foundation, if you will. So we're helping you to build a strong business toolkit. There are 2 week-long intensives. One is at the very, very, very beginning. So, think about that when you're planning that out. The program is 32 months. You can do it in 28. You'll need some permissions from the director of the program to double up on things or take extra courses, but it's not unheard of. So if you're thinking of that, you'd like to shorten the length of time that you're here, by all means. In year 2 and in year 3, that's where everything opens up again. So some people ask us, do I learn from the same faculty as the full-time MBA and the executive MBA? Absolutely. Do you also have the same access to the electives and the support systems that the full-time MBA has? So in year 2, so we'll just go back to network. Your network will grow exponentially, because you will be engaging with people in the full-time program that will be taking some of the same electives as you. And even sometimes, depending on the timing of when those electives are, you will probably engage with somebody from the evening cohort or the morning, depending on where you are. So there's lots of opportunity for engagement, and it's a flexible schedule, and you can pick and choose and really strategize. Year 2 is also when you can start to consider which major or a specialization. So that's the time where you can start planning that out so that you can really dive deep into that. So one of the things that's important to remember about Rotman is the opportunity to specialize and pinpoint some of the, your focus on what you want to do so that you can stand out from other people who have an MBA from somewhere else. So it allows you to differentiate yourself, I guess, from others. Okay. More about the Rotman Advantage. So right after our time together, as I mentioned, Maya Dichik is joining us from the Self-Development Lab. Now, this is one of the things that I think is remarkable. My counterpart really loves she's super into tech and entrepreneurship. So she really loves the Creative Destruction Lab, and maybe there's lots of you on the phone that do too. So I really like the Self-Development Lab. I think this is an opportunity for everybody to develop their own leadership style and find out really what resonates with them and what leadership skills are unique to them and that they can use to their advantage. So some of you may be in sectors that you don't have to do a lot of presenting, or you don't have to do a lot of team building or teamwork, or that it's hard for you to put yourself into those situations. The self-development is designed exactly to help you with that. So I am very excited to hear more about Maya after, so please stay after that. In addition to that, we have the Creative Destruction Lab. I don't want to miss anything. The Creative Destruction Lab is you work with seed companies, like right from the very beginning. Everybody has a fellow, all of the teams have a fellow. It is competitive to get in. But we have Chris Hadfield helping some of the groups design and evolve these companies and these incubators. So it's quite remarkable. In addition to that, we have our business design initiative. And of course, we have the BMO, our finance and trading lab. And our newest lab is our data and analytics lab. So you can see that there's a range of opportunities for wherever your interests fall. And certainly these are available to you just like they're available to the full-time program as well. So keep this in mind when you're thinking about the program, and keep these opportunities in mind when you're thinking about the advantage that Rotman can bring to help you differentiate yourself from others with an MBA. Beyond the classroom, we have more than 35 clubs, 20 different global exchanges, and 24 partner universities. So what I'm hearing more and more about lately, and I say that because I'm learning, I've been at Rotman a little while, but I haven't been with the morning and evening program as long. But case competitions are huge, and I don't know about you, but I think that sounds a little bit daunting to me. But all I hear is how fun they are. The learning experience is remarkable, and the notoriety, if you win those case competitions, can really go a long way in your Rotman experience. So I encourage you to, if this is totally in your wheelhouse, then, go for it. If this is outside of your wheelhouse, I encourage you to consider case competitions as well, and push yourself to consider those when you're here enjoying Rotman. Many of you will be wondering about career services. We have a huge career services team. Tomorrow, there is a career services session as well that I encourage you to register for and attend. 2 of our career counselors will be there. We share the career services with all of our MBAs at Rotman. They do tons of networking events. They do speaker events. They have online resources. You have one-on-one coaching available to you. They do, which I always find useful, are mock interviews with industry professionals. So you're not even doing mock interviews like you're interviewing, you're practicing with people from the industry that will help guide you in the questions that you ask and the examples that you bring to the table. So I think the career service is a huge Rotman advantage that's available to you. Whether you're looking to transition in your career or whether you're looking to transition into somewhere else or between sectors or between roles, the Career Services team is there to help you, and you have access to it during your whole tenure while you're here at Rotman. So why Rotman? Well, Rotman, you're not even just at Rotman, you're at the University of Toronto's Rotman School of Management. So your degree holds two fairly impressive brands, I would say. We are #1 in Canada and we are 18th in the top universities around the globe. I would hasten to guess that you can't go anywhere without somebody knowing about the University of Toronto, or specifically about Rotman, certainly with an MBA. So you will also learn from our remarkable team of renowned Rotman faculty and thought leaders. Some people think, wow, if I'm a bit daunted or I'm a bit hesitant to reach out to our faculty, they are exceedingly approachable. They are here and committed and dedicated to your success in each course that they teach and in the program overall. I encourage you to engage with them. I encourage you to ask your questions. I encourage you to share your thoughts and insights with them. It will be part of the benefits of your learning experience here at Rotman. We talked as well about your personal leadership. So there is a personalized plan that you will create that defines some of your goals and benchmarks about how you build as a leader. Also, that would be aligned with the self-development lab as well. We chatted a little bit about this too, but you enjoy your MBA sort of, it's going to change you. It's going to change all kinds of things. You can't go through an experience like this and meet and build a network that quickly in a short period of time without feeling like something has had an impact on you for the good. You may even decide to switch sectors. You might start out, in sustainability, and you might decide you want to go into consulting. Who knows? But you will learn a lot about yourself, and you will learn about things that you didn't know about outside of that, I guess. The other thing that you should write down is our alumni network. We have over 16,000 members in our alumni network, and you will have access to all of them. So that includes all of the specialized MBAs, that includes all of our full-time MBAs, that includes executive MBAs. You become part of this very large and exceedingly supportive community of people who are looking out for you, who are here to help you, who are to ask any questions, who are there to make connections for you, and you will meet them throughout the program. So the alumni team, I guess, will engage you in events, just like the Career Services will engage you in events, just like Rotman events will, provide opportunities for you. Everything is sort of the web and the network of making sure that you are bolstered or supported by as many people as possible who have also shared the same Rotman experience as you have. Quickly, I'm just going to watch the time so we leave questions, have some term questions. Just a quick snapshot of the class profile for those of you who are thinking about applying and wondering if this is right for me, if I fit into here. Let me first start by saying to those of you who think, oh, well, I don't have a business background or I don't have a finance background, that doesn't preclude you from applying to this program. If you look at the industry background, we have all kinds of sectors that join us. We have hospitality, we have healthcare, we have real estate, we have education, we have finance, technology. So all of the people who are pursuing their MBA are pursuing it for the same reasons, to set them up for future success. It is filling a gap in their career or in their knowledge that allows them to get their MBA and fill that stepping stone to whatever is next for them. You can see the same in the academic background. So when I was chatting about the teams, you will, the program services team who runs the program for you and you will become very close with, they define your teams and they put you in teams so that the teams are diverse, not just with academic and industry background, but just in general, so that the thinking and how you approach a problem or an opportunity, everybody has a different way, an opinion coming in. If you're wondering about GMAT, our average score is anywhere between 630 and 640. The average GPA is 3.3. And we're looking at, we ask for a minimum of 2 years of work experience. We have anywhere from 2 to 20. And so we're sitting about at a 6 for the average years of work experience. So you can sit anywhere in that space. Okay. Admissions criteria. So we are looking for a 4-year undergraduate degree with a minimum of 3.0 in your final year. If you didn't get that, have no fear. Please call us. Please chat with us before you think, oh, well, I did my 4-year degree many years ago, and it was a different time. Let's talk about that, okay? But we look for a 3.0 when we're moving forward. If you did your degree in a language other than English, you are required to do a TOEFL or an IELTS. I mentioned briefly that we're looking for 2 years of work experience, full-time postgraduate experience. Also important to note is that everybody in the program lives and works in the Greater Toronto area. So you can't live in another province or another country. You have to live here because of the nature and the format of the program. Okay, so think about that. You need to get your PR, or you need to organize that in your planning for living and employment. 2 professional references. So get your pen ready. Your professional references must be from somebody you reported to that supervised you while you were working or managed you. It cannot be from a peer. It cannot be academic references. It cannot be from somebody who reported to you. Your references must be from 2 people who can speak to your performance on a day-to-day basis. All right. GMAT. And just watch the time. GMAT. We're looking for a range from 550 to 800. 550 is the minimum. The GMAT requirements are waived for anybody who is a CF3. I'm going to go into that a little bit more in a minute, like next slide. 2 essays, 2 questions, and then you are invited to an admissions interview with either myself or my counterpart, Angela. So essentially here, this is the deal. The higher your GMAT score, the more opportunity for you for financial support. So we have a minimum entrance, and that's 550. At 600 plus, you get an entrance award. Anything 650 and above, you are considered for a distinguished award. Here are the distinguished awards. These are named awards. So we look at all of the applications holistically, including your GMAT, and these are awards that we consider throughout the whole process. It doesn't happen after you're in, or we would consider you at the onset, so you would know when you are given an offer of acceptance. So we have Women Forte Fellowship Awards for women in business. We have Rotman Commerce. We have a Pride Award. We have healthcare. We have Creative Destruction Lab fellowships. So if you know for sure that that is what you want to pursue, we will have determined that throughout our engagement and our working together. We will consider that for you. Our next application deadline is February 9th. If you apply before the end of April, you can, if you have and there are entrance awards for that. Sorry, I'm trying to get through all the details, and then probably going to have to connect after for sure. But so we encourage you to get your applications in by February 9th. If you haven't written your GMAT by then, that is okay. You can still do that and be considered, as long as you have written your GMAT by the end of April, okay, and received a successful score. Tuition is just over $92,000 for the 3 years. I've already mentioned some of the merit awards. There's also a student loan program with RBC and BMO that where you can borrow the full cost. You can apply to borrow the full cost of the program, and Rotman pays the interest while you are in the program, and there are no payments while you're in the program. Okay. I left 2 minutes for questions. Does anybody have any questions? And then doesn't look like it. Okay. Just reduce that again. Coming up, and I encourage you to do this. Please register for our sample classes. One is tomorrow with Professor Avi Goldfarb, Disruption Through Prediction, How AI Will Create Value. And then on Thursday, we have Professor Numan Ashraf, Enabling Social Innovation as a Leadership Imperative. I encourage you to do those. Here's the agenda. Coming up, we have Maya
Dietrich. And she's actually here, Tara.
Yes.
Dekic.
So yeah, she's here. Yay. I just wanted to make sure that anybody that was here for the information session saw that because I wasn't able to leave enough time for questions, here's my email address. Please reach out to me, or if you've already been chatting with Angela, by all means, follow up with Angela. And we would be happy to help you on your journey. And thank you so much for joining me today and considering Rotman for your MBA.
Great job. So, I'm just going to, before Maya takes over, Tara, because you are the official host, you are the only one that can make Maya a co-host. So I'm going to ask you to do that for her so she can share her slides and all that. And hello, Maya. Great to see you.
Hi, good to be here. And hello to the rest of you. Now, I know you might be working or at home. I would love to see some of you if you're there. So if you can turn on the cameras, that would be very, very appreciated. Even a few of you, if you're there, I love to speak to people rather than black boxes. So let's see. Anybody brave? Thank you, Angela. Thank you. Elizabeth also is on. So at least some people are showing up. Let's see. Hopefully some of you will also. Thank you. Is it Fida? How do you say your first name? Fida, nice to meet you, Fida. So let me just start by saying, so what I want to talk to you about today is I'll tell you a little bit about Self-Development Lab, which you will have access to while doing your program, and also give you a little bit of content of the kind that you would get at Self-Development Lab. And this is also why I want to see you. So the part that I'll give you a bit like content of Self-Development Lab will be about executive presence. And when we talk about executive presence, you will see how important it is that people actually see you when you're talking to them and they're getting to understand you, even though you're just listening, because it turns out the presence is the effect you make on other people when you're not speaking. So even as I'm speaking, all of you are doing something to me, right? If you suddenly start making really bad faces and start slumping off, chances I would start to think or do different things than if you looked interested, right? So when it comes to executives, that becomes very, very important. But let me not get ahead of myself. Let me just first tell you what Self-Development Lab is, right? And why we have it. It might be strange just to justify, why do we have this thing? Why are we spending money, time, energy on something that doesn't, none of other business school has? So while other schools of management are fine and they have excellent programs, it turns out that only Rotman has Self-Development Lab, which is a lab dedicated to building students' leadership skills on a very individualized basis. So we'll tell you what kind of prompted us to build this lab. Now, in 2017, the Washington Post came up with this story. So you could read a story about Google doing research on what is it that makes any individual person inside of their company successful. And because they were a data company, what they did is that they crunched the numbers. So in 2013, they decided to test the hiring hypothesis. They were getting the top 1% of the smartest people from all the quant areas, right, all around the world, from Ivy League schools usually. And when they thought, okay, how do we predict which one of these, all of very smart people, how do we predict which one of them will succeed? Okay, so they took all the data and put in all sorts of predictor variables, all the possible ones that they could collect data about their employees. And it's Google, so you can imagine they collected a lot of data. And they call the project Oxygen. So what is it that gives life and breath and air to people as they're succeeding in their career? And what they found is something that they did not predict at all. So, they were probably thinking that it's exactly the kinds of things that they were picking for would predict who is successful. But it turns out the thing that determined who were the people who made it up in the organizations were all what we consider to be soft skills. Being a good coach, communicating and listening well, possessing insights into others, having empathy, being supportive of one's colleagues, being a good critical thinker and problem solver, being able to make very complex connections across complex ideas, and not just one's own, but across other people's ideas, right? So what they thought, okay, so the thing that we are hiring for, like the secret sauce of people's leadership potential, is not the thing that we are hiring for. And they said, okay, well, what makes teams successful? So they did this other project, Aristotle, and exactly found some very, very similar things. In teams, it was emotional safety, empathy, emotional intelligence, equality, generosity, curiosity. Okay, so at this point, it's at this point that Google stopped doing what they were doing before, which is only recruiting from top quant programs of Ivy League schools, and suddenly opened their doors to people in the arts, to people in the humanities, to people, because they thought, okay, can we attract people who have these skills, right? Who have these soft skills that will allow them then to progress and succeed, both individually, right? And as a team. So think of it like this. Google, who has access basically to top recruits all over the world, decided, okay, we're looking for people with these secret sauce of what will advance them. And what we decided to do at Rotman, and we started kind of thinking about it a couple of years before Google did, we thought, yes, there is the secret sauce of what makes people very, very successful. But instead of just trying to attract these people, how do we make our own secret sauce at Rotman? So how do we do it here? And so what we did is really brought a group of a really, really wide group, because these soft skills, the reason why Google was recruiting is because they simply didn't have expertise to figure out how to build it in their people. They're actually very hard to learn. And they're very hot in the marketplace. So usually through self-selection, people end up in these companies. So what we did, we just basically brought a bunch of people with different expertise. I myself am a personality psychologist. I have colleagues who are clinical psychologists, industrial psychologists. I have colleagues in the SDL who are voice coaches and drama coaches and entrepreneurs and cognitive and information scientists, you name it. We have brought a group of people together to figure out how to give you precisely the skills that you will need to succeed. Because when it comes to leadership, your expertise is table stakes, right? Everybody else is going to have it too. When they're looking for who is going to progress in the career, really they're looking at a very unique set of skills. So we started self-development laboratory. So this was in 2011, and it was a pilot program at a time. And it turned out that it was not only companies that were interested in finding these people, is that the students themselves, professional people themselves, realized how valuable they are. So that our lab expanded from originally full-time MBA program where it was to another like 6 programs very shortly, because the students who heard about it wanted access to the same set of skills and the same kind of help that we offer. What is at the center of what we're going to offer is feedback. Okay, why? Because it turns out that to build skills of this kind, you need a lot of feedback. And what kind of feedback? Well, you don't need, most people, when they're interacting or they're in the middle of a complex negotiation, they need to do this. No, it's that the feedback is when you are in the middle of a difficult conversation and you start doing that your thing, which is raising your voice or, giving up, making some movements. Here is what's happening to your interaction. So it's not about some people out there, but what's happening to you individually. It needs to be iterative. So we need to give you feedback and then give you feedback again. Why? Because every time as you're trying to practice, you'll get to a new stage. And so we need to give you iterative feedback. It needs to be precise, not kind of, you seem broadly like you're not connecting to your audience, as in rather than, when you look over the tops of the heads of people you're presenting to, they feel like you're not interacting with them, right, very, very precise. Or when you're moving your feet in this particular way, you look like you want to run off the stage, or very, very precise things, right? So not these broad statements. And timely, so that if you're doing something, so let's say you have a presentation, you have some sort of interview, you have an interaction, if we can get our hands at the SDL on that video, and then we can give you immediately feedback after that. The reason why, whenever I talk about the lab, I always tell people, look, people go out into the real world right after the MBA. And only after a while, they start realizing, oh, wait, I need some feedback on this. And then you start asking people for feedback, but you're asking, sometimes you might not get a promotion, or, you're not going to get a job that you have applied for. And I don't know whether it ever happened to you where you just ask for feedback. What happens is, what is it that people usually tell you? Do they give you specific feedback? Let me see. Let me just stop sharing for a moment and see if anybody's going to raise their hand and speak to us. Do you get very specific feedback when you just ask for it? Like,
mostly very vague.
Yes, mostly very vague. And the reason for it is couple. Thank you, Javier. The reason for it is that often they don't want to tell you because they are afraid they might get sued. They don't know. They just don't. They're like, something struck me about you that you don't look to me like your leadership potential. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Tell me how I can help it. Tell me how I can, right? So they don't have the expertise. They don't know how to do it. They're worried to give this feedback to you. Whereas at the lab, we are gonna, I know it sounds really difficult, but we're gonna kind of tell you the reason why you look like you're not leadership potential is because you're having difficult time, maintaining contact with the person you're talking to, or because of the way you're inclining your head, it looks like you're condescending to them. You see, they're all small things that we're going to pick up because we're trained in it, and then somebody wouldn't pick up. And something else, when we give this feedback, most of the time, the reason why people don't give other people this kind of feedback is because they think it's somehow baked into their character, right? Well, you seem condescending, as if that's a verdict on how you have to be from now onward. It's not a verdict. We developed our personalities in contact with our environment. So we do whatever seems to be best for us as we're growing up. So we can change it. So we don't finish development at 12 or at 23. We keep developing in our 30s, in our 40s, in our 50s, in our 60s, in our 70s. So when you come to the lab, we understand that. We understand, we're going to take you individually, right? We're going to look at you individually, what's going on with you. We're going to give you precise feedback with an understanding that whatever we are giving you, actually, it can be changed if you wish to change it. So it's not like, and that doesn't mean that you're not going to be you. It's not like we're going to invite you to change some very core part of you, like your values or something. No, it's just that some habits that we might have taken on because they worked at a time no longer may work for us. So one example is that for example, if I grew up in a family with a lot of siblings and I never could get my voice heard, right? So I had to yell over others to, to make myself heard. So I might just develop a habit of being a bit louder. So then I come into my work setting and, people are nice and polite and quiet, but I'm still loud, right? So people will be like, oh, wait, why are you yelling at us? When really I'm not yelling at anybody, I'm just trying to express myself. So I need that feedback. And I even say, you know what, it's okay, you will be heard. You can relax and you can kind of allow other people to express and it will be your turn. So it's no longer the same situation. So it's these kinds of things that look to people like, oh yeah, it's just how I am, or it's just how this other person is, when really it's a way of being that was developed because it was useful in some way in a particular point of time. And now we can continue developing. That's the whole point. So, oh, and I love that I'm seeing more of you on this. So thank you. Is it Tanuj and Rune also to know that? Am I getting your names right?
Yes, that's correct.
This is
Rune,
lunch.
Ranch. Okay, great. So let me go back to my slides a little bit to share this with you. So people don't give you feedback because usually they're unaware of it. It's unpleasant to give it, and it seems to them like it can't be fixed. So, okay, so what have we done? How have we built the lab? So the core of the lab is the feedback, okay? But if I give you feedback, I say, okay, here's this thing. You actually, what do you do with it? It's not just like a simple behavioral feedback. Try to be like, it has to fall into an understanding of your own psychology. So what do we need to do? We need to actually build your understanding of psychology. So we give you a little bit about psychology, right? So you will understand how you work, how your motivation work, how habits work, how emotions work. This is the knowledge you're going to get like a little squeezed in undergrad in psych in small little sessions so that you know how everything works inside of us, right? You'll get that. And underneath it, in order for you to build it, you need really to feel safe with us. And what that means is that whereas other spaces ask you to bring the best of them, best of you to them, right? They say, give me your best work, give me your best qualities. We actually invite you to bring your worst to us. And that's a very vulnerable place, because you go in, we invite you to come in and say, you know what doesn't work with me in a workplace? The way that I speak to my super, that doesn't work. Somehow, no matter how I try, I don't get that promotion. They don't see me as a leadership potential. Or so, and we understand that if you're going to bring us what doesn't work for you, that's a very vulnerable place, and that it requires a lot of strength to bring it. And we are trained to be able to hold that and to give you exactly the kind of feedback that you can use to keep building yourself, right? To keep building yourself, building the skills that have been underdeveloped or that you want to develop even more. And to do that, really, we need to give you practice, which means also one-on-one individual coaching. So what happens at the lab is that we have this space, we call it self-development lab, and we give you a set of modules. Some are classroom, which is, you in a regular classroom, you're learning about psychology. So things like modules like self-management, how feedback works when you're giving and receiving feedback. But then we give you these also core modules, which are in small groups where we bring you in and we give you modules, let's say, on how you present, how you interact in teams in a difficult or conflicting situations. And if you're wondering, well, why don't you give it that feedback to me one-on-one? It's because oddly enough, you learn so much more, not only from your pattern, but watching your colleagues with the same. So them getting the feedback at the same time as you gives you a lot more information. And finally, we have lab hours where weekly we will give you one-on-one coaching if you'd like. So, and this is none of this program is mandatory. You can come and go as you please. You don't have to attend modules if you don't want. You don't have to come on one-on-one coaching. It's co-curricular. You do not get marks. You don't get anything on your resume as a result of it, other than all you do is this is a space where you build skills. So you come and you give it as much time as you want, and we're going to be there throughout. throughout your program. So all the modules happen in the first year, and then we do follow-ups in the year and one-on-one coaching in the years 2 and 3. We're there with you the whole program for these skills that you want to build. So whatever that is for you, we will be there. Okay. Now, so let me, so I'll stop there. Let me stop sharing for a second. See those of you who still have cameras on, see your faces to see any questions you have about what Self-Development Lab is, what it does. Anybody with any questions yet? Go ahead, Brian, go ahead.
Thanks. So I'm just wondering, so these are soft skills, right?
Yeah.
These are not like a formula, finance formula you can learn and implement. No. So I'm just wondering, how easy is it to, you know, I know you alluded it to it before, that you're not going to make some, you know, drastic changes in your personality or change the core of who you are. I'm just wondering what sort of these skills, how can you implement these skills into your, you know, day-to-day workplace? Okay,
so what happens basically when you attend one of the, let's say you attend a module on presentations, right? Like, let's say it's a soft skill. It's being able to talk to others about your expertise. And at the same time, you know, imbue what you're saying, that they trust you, right? That you come to it from a leadership perspective. So I'll give you an example of how we approach something like that. So I'm just taking this so you get a sense of what we do in the module. So, let's say that we're talking about something like leadership presence. It seems very vague, right? Leadership presence seems like, what is it? Is it like charisma? No, it's not charisma. Really, when it comes to, let's say you have any crisis situation, this ship is sinking, we are likely to turn not just to the person who has most competence, like the what do you call it, captain of the ship. If we know that the captain of the ship is going to put his or her family on the safe boat and not us, we're not turning to the captain. We're going to actually try to figure out somebody who's going to take our interest in mind. Roman, go ahead.
Oh, I'll let you finish answering his question unless.
Okay, no problem. So let me get very, very quickly, I'll go through it and then we'll get back to your question. So that's what we're looking for. And that, so motivation is presented to others non-verbally. So what do I mean by that? I know this sounds a bit strange, but we're animals, right? And when you look at animals out in the wild, you see this gazelle and this leopard or lion approaching. I always tell my students, this gazelle doesn't need to get a memo from this leopard about what's going to happen. Okay? It's just going to run the other way. What it means is that as animals, we're very good at reading motivations of other people non-verbally. So when you walk into the room, I'm going to scan you and see, what are you up to? Are you the kind of person who's going to tell me the truth? You look a bit shifty, you look a bit shady. And the question is, when we do look, let's say, shifty or shady or non-trustworthy, why is that? So the way we do it is scientifically. There's a bunch of things that, you know, it's not magic. It's not like you're receiving some vibes. The vibes really are non-verbal outside behaviors, gestures, facial expressions, your eyes, how you move, what the tone of your voice is. And that indicates to us the things that we don't see, your thoughts, your emotions, your motivations, your physiology, right? So what your presence is how your inner factors show up in your nonverbal expression, and fundamentally what effect that has on people around you. So that if I show up in the room, are you going to think good things about you or me? Are you going to feel good? Are you going to do something different, right? So that is what presence is. And I and you and everybody else exhibits that even when we're not talking. So this is why it's really nice to be around some people. They're quite, let's say that somebody's listening to you. Why is it so nice to be around that person? Because they're exhibiting to you all of these signals of, I want to hear you, I value you, you're important to me, while they're listening. Okay. How do we do it? Well, we do it scientifically. We take at least, let's talk about nonverbal. So there's these 5 channels through which we come through others: text, visual stimuli, body, face, and voice. And then here's what we do. We take each of them and analyze them. Okay, so we have a video of you. We could actually look at how your eyes move. We look at your facial expressions, and we look at the congruence or incongruence of things on your face. We take your voice, and we can actually analyze the flow, your pitch. We can analyze your volume and how it all comes together, and why is it that your voice and how you speak may seem to somebody else as either very trustworthy or not trustworthy. So maybe if you have a lot of fillers, that just a habit you picked up, to them it doesn't seem right somehow, or because you get stressed, your pitch kind of gets up and you're talking from here, and to other people you don't look confident. Okay, or if simply you speak very quietly, so to other people you sound very timid. And the same thing with the body. You know, when we get back to presenting in person, we do all sorts of things with our bodies to relieve our stress. We move, we do this, we do that. But all of that, somebody's watching and saying, I don't know about this presenter. This other one seems like their idea is better. When really, it's really they're unconsciously picking up on these cues. So really, we take something very seemingly shady like presence, and we say, okay, when you are authentically yourself and calm, chances are you're going to give you do have benevolent intentions towards others. You want to, as an expert, you want to explain things to them thoroughly. They will understand you as such. But if you get stuck, if your mind goes to, oh my God, what will they think? If your emotions get very negative, if you're, you'll start sweating, your physiology that is going to start showing up in these signals. And so all I'm saying, it's not that we are changing, let's say, how your presence is that we're trying to remove the stress signals by having you kind of re-examine how you approach the situation so that you can be yourself fully, and other people will understand you as such, right? That you're an expert there, you're there to explain things to them, and that you're going to give it your best in that situation. And inevitably within 5 to 6 seconds, research shows they will pick up on that message. There's research showing that let's say when a prof starts a class, or let's say I just started speaking, that within 6 seconds, you determine whether or not what's coming out of my mouth is going to be of value to you. And you do that by this nonverbal analysis. Even though you don't know you're doing it, you're analyzing things nonverbally. So when it comes to leadership, there's 2 things, if we are so torn up inside of ourselves that we are wondering, what will they think of me? And you're really not in your kind of, I call it kind of expert mind, where really, it doesn't matter if you're presenting to the Queen of England or to the top CEO or to whoever, or to somebody, one of your people who just needs a little bit of help, that you approach it with the same level of sort of genuine authenticity, your mind being focused on the problem in exactly the same way, so that nothing can topple you from this focus that you have. So when you can be whole, when we talk about integrity really means something to be whole in one piece and not in multiple pieces. When we approach our professional situation whole in this way, and we are transparent, we're open, so that if you could read my mind, I'm okay with you reading my mind, because all I want to do here is something that that is good for you and for me in some way. I have a joint goal with you. Then you get something that is very strong presence. Some people call it charisma. Some people call it all of these things that sound mysterious, but they're not. There are people who really have enough self-understanding, and they've done the work of the kind, and they know. So if they start exhibiting these unconscious behaviors, they suddenly say, because it's inevitable. It doesn't matter how much you monitor yourself. For example, it's so funny because I used to teach undergrads about 7-8 years ago, and I developed this like a verbal tick, which is, does that make sense? Like I would ask after every 3rd sentence, I'd be like, does that make sense? And once I watched my lectures, like, why am I repeating this? And then then after a while, I was hanging out with some people, and they were using a lot of like in their language. So then I was like saying like all the like time, like and I thought, oh my God, I sound like I'm 12. Like, so you have to check, because we live in the world, and we pick up sometimes verbally patterns around us. And sometimes we just start exhibiting them. So it is good, this kind of checkup is good for us to understand, okay, what is inside of us is not aligned, what is not whole, right? So that we don't come through very strongly to others. Because in the kind of work doesn't change us, it just frees us from mannerisms and stress that impede our presence. 3 minutes left. Roman, you go for it. What is your question?
Yeah, so I actually took a look on the Self-Development Lab website. I had a question. So I noticed content from the full-time MBA and the morning evening MBA is different.
Yes.
Is there a reason why like that interactive dialogue session is not included, or is that something that's still available if we were to pursue that?
So this is so what we do for each program, we develop a separate set of modules that are usually we work with the program administrators to figure out, okay, what kind of modules do you think your students want the most? And we are very open also. Let's say that the students really wanted that integrative dialogues. Now that's a longer module, it's an hour and a half. So sometimes, we find that sometimes people can't squeeze it into their schedule. So what we do is every year we reevaluate which modules. So if you went to your administrator and said, you know what, me and another 10 people thought we really want that module, and they would come to us and say, would you offer that module? I can promise you we will say yes. So as long as there's interest in students, we're willing to move in modules back and forth. So usually it has to do with the very intense schedule that morning evening students are under, right? Because you're working and going to the MBA and all of these things. So that's why we limit the programming. But all the time you will have that one-on-one whenever you want. So weekly, you will have one-on-one. And people say, well, how can you do it? How can you offer everybody one? How big is your lab? It doesn't, oddly enough, people want self-development at their own pace. So you can come, some people come in the first year, some people come in the second year, some people come in the third year. As long as you attend a couple of really key modules, what we do is we make sure that there's enough modules you have at the base, and then we can build from it. But absolutely, if as students you're very interested in some modules, we will offer it if there is enough interest with students.
Okay, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Anybody for the last question or comment? We have 1 minute left. Well, I will just then thank, I'll thank Angela and Tara for inviting me, and I thank all of you for being here, and special thanks to those people on camera for being my partners in this talk. I hope I'll see you in the class eventually, right, in one of our modules. I'll just turn it over back to Tara. Is it Tara or Angela? I'm not sure who would like to.
Thank you so much, Maya. I always think that anybody who's going to do some self-development has to be very brave and ready. So I'd like to think all of our MBA students are just that. So thank you so much for your time. If anybody has any questions, follow-up questions that they think about after Maya's chat, please reach out to me, and I will happily reach out to Maya and get those answers for you. Thank you to everybody for joining us this evening. Again, as a reminder, please sign up for the sample classes. With one is with Professor Goldfarb, Avi, and the other one is with Professor Ashraf Numan, and they are coming up. One of Avi's is tomorrow, Numan's is on Thursday, plus there are other sessions as well. After Numan's session is an alumni panel, and we all know that the best people that we can learn from are the people who have been through the program. So I encourage you to register for that session as well. So thank you again. Any questions, please reach out to me directly. And thanks again so much, Maya, for sharing your time with us and teaching us all about the Self-Development Lab. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.